a plastic signage warehouse, and I went to check out these um, aluminum composite panel. So basically they are some sort of plastic ABS or some kind of plastic sheets, but sandwiched in between uh, aluminum sheets, top and bottom, and they are super. I mean, this samples piece is small, but it's super strong. I can't even bend them. So the reason why I went to check this out is that I want to make a second version of the side skirt, because the previous ones are nice, but as you can see, it's wavy and it's been bothering the shit out of me. And finally I've been researching on what types of material is better. Obviously I was going to go for a thicker sheets of ABS plastic, which runs me, these are 1/8, I believe. The ones on the car is 1/8, and it costs about $80 for a 8 by, I don't know, 8 by 6, 8 feet by 6 feet. And believe it or not, these are the same thickness, and they're $40 of 8 by 4. They have a 6mm version, which is twice as thick as this, and probably gonna be twice the price as well. They also offer free cutting, so I'm gonna measure. I have the measurement from the past, but I'm gonna re-measure everything, just make sure that I have the correct measurement. And if I provide the measurement, they'll cut each pieces ready for me to pick up for free. So today I'm going to just pull measurement, give them an email, and next week I'll stop by their warehouse again and I'll pick up the material and I'll make a new one of these side skirts. Bought a air rivet gun, and I have some 3/16 by 1/2 inch rivets. This time around I got some bigger L brackets because of the spacing here. With the smaller ones, it's hard to fit the rivet gun into it, so this will do. However, we have a problem with these rivets are just a little bit too tight. So what I do, I put it on a vise, and I'm just gonna drill a little bit, tiny bit off of it. No, not that one. Now it fits really tightly too. I can drill it slightly bigger, but for a tighter fit, this is perfect. Here it is, guys. I just picked these up. This is just an extra piece that I have, and I also have a larger piece that I couldn't fit in the car. That's gonna be my front splitter. It's I believe 70 inches wide and just about 21 inches deep. Couldn't fit it in my car, so I'm gonna pick that up on another day. But here are the cutout pieces for the side skirt. I'm not sure what this is. Probably another extra cutout. So here are going to be the inserts. They weren't able to cut out an opening to clear the underside of the car on the inside, so I'll have to figure that out on my own. And these are the main pieces on the top and the vertical piece. The top and the vertical, and then the bottom one would be this one right here. It's 4 inch wide. These are 2.5 inch. So this is gonna be the top piece right here. I'm just gonna start measuring based off the old side skirt. basically I'm gonna mark down the spot where I'm gonna drill the hole. um, the L bracket is gonna sit on like this, and on the vertical portion we'll mount this piece. So it's going to be just about half an inch off the edge. It's not the most critical, so the whole piece is 2.5 inch. So right at that 2-inch mark, that's where I'm gonna have the first bracket. So just gonna mark it down like that. And again, this is not really critical, so I'm just gonna eyeball the location. However, I do want this to be accurate. I mean, how far it comes off straight before it starts curving is not the most critical. Where I drill the hole is more critical as far as how deep I want it. I don't want it to be slanted, curving in, and when it should be just straight. Okay, so I have these two drilled, and then I will mount those two first and have the vertical piece mounted, and go from there and start bending the vertical piece to see how I want it to curve. The drill bit is basically the same one that I use to drill open the L bracket. That way I make sure the rivet's gonna be really tight, and when it gets pulled, once it expands, it's gonna be like dead on, like it's not gonna move. So it's drilled through it quite easily, so that's good. So I'm tempted to add another one in between, which I had on the existing side skirt, but because of how strong the material is, I'm thinking I may not have to. So we're over here on my really messy bench because I'm about to rivet on the L bracket. If I can find my safety glasses. So again, the rivet I'm using is 3/16 by half an inch. Nice and tight. It's the first time I used the air rivet gun. It's gonna save me a lot of effort. So let's put on the vertical piece, and then we'll mark down where I want to drill these holes. The vertical piece is shorter because it's gonna start from the back, and then right before we hit the slots, we end it on the back side. So these are shorter. I'll have the measurement for typed up in the description. I also have a sketch of all the cutouts, the dimensions and everything, so And you want to peel off all these backing first, because you don't want to rivet it down with the backing on, and then you get it all stuck with, you know, on top of your rivets and all. Okay, nice and straight. Alright, as you can see, I probably won't need the third mounting spot. Even with 3 here, these are still not so straight, so I already see a much better improvement. And doesn't seem to have any problem bending as well, so that's also good. So we're gonna have one mount all the way at the end, and right about 6 inches or 8 inches mark, I'm gonna have the second one. That is where the straight area is, and the rest will basically be the actual curve of the skirt. This one is a little tricky because I will not be able to get half an inch, because I want this to be sitting at a half an inch, just like that right there. But because if I put it half an inch, I don't have anything to mount to. So what I'm gonna do is have this flip and mount on the back side. We will rivet it on like this. So I find that sometimes to make sure that the L bracket is perfectly riveted on the right location, because you don't want to drill the hole, let's say, slightly too low, so you'll end up mounting like this, which would leave a gap. So better option is to mount the bottom of the L bracket first, and with the piece on top, you're gonna just drill right through the hole. Just like that. And when you run your rivet through it, for sure your piece is gonna be sitting perfectly flush on the vertical portion. Just like that. See, it's perfectly flush. Right there, I did not do it, so you'll see that there's a slight gap, which not super obvious, but from now on I want to make sure everything is done right, so this is a better method. Battery went out yesterday, so I had to stop recording, but I moved on and I completed one already. So right now what we're gonna do is insert all these tunnel, the fins. There will be a total of 3, and because inside the body itself will hit this portion if once mounted, so right about 4 inches right here, right about 4 inch. After that it will hit the body. So what I'm gonna do is cut this part all the way down to here, and then cut it across like that to clear the inside of the side skirt. You may not have to do this if this is not the car you're making it for, but in my case, that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna mark down right at the 4-inch location, and right slightly past the halfway point, and I'm gonna end it right there. So basically this I'm gonna be cutting away. And to cut this is actually not too difficult. All I'm using is just a regular saw. And just like that. So basically for my design I have 3 of these, so I'm gonna do this 2 more times. So use the already cut out piece as your guide so you make sure they're somewhat consistent. Okay, so all 3 pieces are cut. Once again, I'm gonna peel all these backings. All these pieces are cut out. What you want to do is put them at where you want it. In my case, I'm cheating a little bit because I already did my other side, so I know where I want them to be. Basically, once again, this is for your own liking how far apart they are, but in my case they are 6 inches from the edge of the tip of where the vent ends, and then from one to another it's 5 inches apart. So that's how I had it. So since I already did that, I can basically just do this. And when you're doing this, the key is to make sure they are parallel. Okay. So I'm gonna have 2 mounting brackets, but for now I'm just gonna have one of them mounted just so I have a fixed point on one end, and then I can pivot it, and since it's gonna hold on the other side, it'll be easier for me to mark where I want the second bracket to be since the other side is already fixed. Once the brackets are mounted, obviously I turned them all the wrong direction. You could turn them back using a plier, just like that. So make sure this is to the edge, and the next thing to do is mark it down. Okay, so once this is done, you now can mount the second bracket a lot easier. Without this moving around, you could push the L bracket against the plate to make sure you have a good marking location. So once the first piece is done, all you have to do is repeat the whole process, so you'll end up with 3 pieces. It's important to figure out from which side you want to rivet from, because if this is facing the front, obviously you don't want these to be showing in the front. You rather you have the flat rivet side on that's facing the outside. The trick here is to make sure they're parallel. Since you still have this side loose, you can adjust it like that, and then basically do what I did here. Mark it down, drill holes, rivet, and you're good to go. Once you got all these, the bottom, everything mounted, the only thing left is to put this on and follow, you know, the all these vertical pieces and mount your L brackets where you find needed. What I normally do is, if I have a mount between here and here, so I'm gonna mount my L bracket on the top over here, just down the middle, so I have a evenly spread out support overall. So once again, peel all these off before you put rivets on. Okay, so make sure you have this perfectly aligned and don't drop it. What I did was use something that is flat to make sure it's sitting perfectly all the way across. What you want to do is start putting the mounting bracket. So probably spread them out. I would put one on the far left and then one on the far right. That way the piece doesn't move anymore. My marker can't really get to it, so what I did was I drew the outline of the bracket and then I removed it from the top. Now I can mark it up. I'm gonna mount this piece on first. So again, you want this side on facing out, so you don't want like that. So put it through here, and it's also better to have the expand side where the rivet expand and grabs to have a metal surface. Usually if we're riveting through like a bumper, on the other side you put a washer, so when this expands it gets stopped by the washer. I'm just gonna mount the top piece and get it onto here. That way this side is secured. All I have to do is position on the other side and get it all mounted. Okay, so all that is left to do is get all these sections mounted. So one here, and I'm gonna put another one right there maybe. No, I think that should be good. So 2 more on top and we're done. So when you're done with one side, don't mount the side skirt on just yet, because you could probably use it as a reference to where you drilled the holes, give you a better idea. So basically on the other side you just repeat the whole process, and then after I'm done, I'm gonna make the side plate. I'm gonna make a different design as well. Will be laminated in carbon fiber as well. And then for this time I think I'm gonna keep the side skirt black, so we'll be spray painting them. If it doesn't turn out good, I will then just vinyl wrap over it in the same color. So repeat the same process again for the other side, and that's it. Alright, so everything's mounted. See how solid this is? It's not bending over, it's not wiggly. So you can just mount it on like this, but what I'm gonna do is basically put some L brackets here and make side plates like these. I'm gonna make different ones. It's going to start from the top and more curvage, more higher, or it's gonna be higher, and it's gonna curve along this line right here. Not that high, but probably right there, and then come back down, and not as high over there, but similar. And then for mounting, I'm not gonna really go into how you mount it. Every car is slightly different, but what I'm gonna do basically is have some sort of L bracket that goes probably on the more of the inside, come straight up like this. Same thing on the other side, and then get them mounted on each end of the inside of the wheel. Okay, so, and also I'm going to be using a sand block with some sandpaper, and I'm going to sand these down so they're not so sharp and somewhat round, chamfer the edges, and also get them painted black. And I added these rubber seals from eBay. You can get them for like I think $20 or $30 a roll like this. It's really gonna clean up the fitment. So you remove the backing and basically tape it on like this, and you'll end up having this edge, which will be showing as a seal along the edges, so it will give it a clean look. So that's basically it. This is how I make the side skirt. I'm gonna put some videos and photos up of everything's installed and mounted.